Hello and welcome back into this My Media podcast. This is our fourth ever episode. Thank you for joining back in. And if you're new, we're glad to have you joining us for the first time. My name is Dino Soljanovic and I'm the host and owner of My Media. You can find me on X at Dino_zigzag and on the My Media socials on X, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and now TikTok. Yeah, that's right. We're now on TikTok. So go ahead and drop a follow on our brand new account. Whether you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, let us know in the comments what type of content you guys would like to see from us on our TikTok page. Also, let us know if you'd like to see us cover some more St. Louis sports other than just St. Louis City SC and the Bosnian national team and U.S. national team. As for today's episode, we're going to take a look back at Bosnia and USA's opening matches at the World Cup. We're going to preview their next matches and give an update on both teams, as well as some other World Cup storylines and potentially some predictions. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. The first thing I wanted to cover in today's episode, since I didn't cover them back in the last episode, albeit that there was not much news to cover at the time regarding this topic, is that St. Louis City SC is now back in training. As you know, due to the World Cup, MLS clubs have, I believe, about a 3-week break. So it's nice to see City get back into training, and hopefully they finish out the year with a strong second half of the season. And speaking of St. Louis City, their summer of soccer kicked off last week. They hosted a watch party for USA Paraguay out in front of Energizer Park at Lou Fuse Plaza. And during the game, a pretty cool thing happened to me, actually. I got interviewed on Fox 2 News about the game. This was my second time actually appearing on Fox 2. The first time was during the Blues-Jets series last year, and it was just a clip of me saying, "Let's go Blues." But this time they used an actual interview clip of mine, and it was a pretty cool moment, which, speaking of other cool moments, I forgot to mention this in the last episode, is My Media was featured on Men in Blazers. Men in Blazers is obviously a huge soccer media company, and they're a group whose content I've enjoyed for years, and they're a big inspiration into why I started My Media. So it was very cool to see the clips I posted of Bosnian fans awaiting the team in Canada get used on Men in Blazers, and it really meant a lot to me, so shout out to Men in Blazers. Taking a look at World Cup action, some massive matchups in the last few days. Kylian Mbappe yesterday scoring 2, reaching closer to Miroslav Kloser's record, Erling Haaland as well scored his first 2 goals at a FIFA World Cup. So congratulations to him in Norway, which I believe grabbed a 3-1 win. It was either a 3 or 4-1 win over Iraq. Lionel Messi proved why he is the GOAT and told Kylian Mbappe, "Hold my beer," as he dropped a hat-trick against Vladimir Petkovic's Algeria. He now ties Miroslav Kloser's all-time World Cup goal record. Messi also making history by being the first male player to feature in 6 FIFA World Cups. Now, speaking of more legends, Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal took on DR Congo earlier today. Ronaldo, however, was not able to get onto the score sheet, as Portugal and DR Congo played to a 1-1 draw. This was DR Congo's first ever World Cup point and goal in history, coming from Wisa, which is a shout out to DR Congo and Cabo Verde, for holding their own against some tough sides. So shout out to both of them. They held their own against Spain and Portugal. Cabo Verde obviously playing to a 0-0 draw with a great performance from their goalkeeper. And then DR Congo playing to a 1-1 draw with Portugal. Now a result that also surprised me in the past week of World Cup action is that Australia beat Turkey 2-0. As we know, Australia is set to take on the USA on Friday, so it should be an interesting and potentially a very tough matchup for the US. Now going on back onto the topic of a legend, before I talk about the U.S. men's national team in Bosnia, I wanted to talk about Bosnia's neighbor Croatia and the legend that is Luka Modric. Now, albeit not the greatest performance from the 40-year-old Croatian midfielder in Croatia's 4-2 loss to England. However, in my opinion, Dominik Livakovic, Croatia's goalkeeper, saved Croatia multiple times from losing by even more, and from losing by an even more embarrassing scoreline. Harry Kane grabbed 2 goals in the match and is now England's leading World Cup scorer, surpassing Gary Lineker. Croatia's defense during the match, in my opinion, was absolutely shocking. I thought it was abysmal, and if they want another historic World Cup run in the future, they've really got to sort things out within the defense. And it was just a terrible performance. I was surprised at how bad Croatia's defense performed today. Like I said, Livakovic saved them countlessly, multiple times in the match, and he's kind of the opposite of Demirovic for Bosnia. He doesn't perform the best for his club, but performs great for country, which, speaking of Demirovic, I really hope he can, end his goalless drought against Switzerland. I really do like the guy, but, he's been struggling in terms of the Bosnian national team and his performances overall. Now, moving on to the U.S. men's national team. The U.S. men's national team kicked off their World Cup campaign with a 4-1 win over Paraguay. Falarin Balogun grabbing 2 goals in a man-of-the-match performance, as well as a beautiful Trivela strike from Gio Reyna to cap off the win for the U.S. Now, the biggest concern regarding the U.S. was the fact that Christian Pulisic came off at halftime, and originally the reason wasn't available during the match as to why he came off. However, he seems to be nursing a calf injury, per Jenny Taft of Fox Sports. He is back in training and taking it lightly, and he is currently training with his sleeve on his calf, and from my understanding, he should be ready to play against Australia. However, it is unsure whether or not it would be under limited minutes or a bench role. Now, obviously, moving forward to USA versus Australia, which I mentioned earlier. Like I was saying, Australia surprised me a bit with a win over Turkey. So I think this could be a very tough matchup and could also be a surprising result for the US. With that being said, my prediction for this match is a 1-0 win with a goal from Weston McKennie. So obviously, a lot less goals than the US's last match, which I believe that's the most goals and the biggest win that the US men's national team have had in a World Cup match in their history. So obviously, it was just a great performance from the U.S. Christian Pulisic, sadly, like I said, came off what seems to be an injury. He did tell members of his family and friends section that he was okay and that it seemed to be nothing serious. But yeah, up until that point, he was having a great performance. The U.S. overall was dominating. I believe it was 3-0 at halftime. So yeah, great performance from the U.S. to kick off the World Cup. And I think the U.S. could surprise a lot of people this summer. They are a really quality national team, and I think that's a conversation that a lot of people aren't ready for. Now, moving on to the Bosnian national team. They kicked off their campaign with a 1-1 draw against co-host nation Canada. Bosnia took the lead from an unlikely hero in the 21st minute, and that was Jovo Lukic. Obviously, before the match, a lot of people thought that Jeko would be ready to start. Barbaras did say that Jeko was ready to come on and play at least 10 minutes, but obviously, Kosinas came off due to a small injury. I believe that he was having cramps. Lukic's dad, Mitar, spoke about how big of an inspiration and idol Edin Jeko is to Jovo, and how the goal brought Jovo's mother to tears. Obviously, Jovo's mother to tears, Jovo also jokingly added that he could die tomorrow knowing and feeling fulfilled that he scored a goal for his nation at the World Cup. So genuinely, congratulations to Jovo on fulfilling a lifelong dream. What an incredible story. Last year, so not this season, but the prior season, he was looked at as a flop in Romania. I believe he only had 5 goals in 40 performances. And now this season, I believe he had 17 goals, was the leading scorer in Romania, and found his way onto Bosnia's World Cup roster as a surprise inclusion, and ended up grabbing Bosnia's first goal at the 2026 World Cup, and his first World Cup goal, and first goal for the national team in his career. So, like I was saying, congratulations to Jovo on fulfilling a lifelong dream, and he had a great performance in the match, in my opinion. Like I was saying earlier, Ermedin Demirovic had a chance to put Bosnia 2-1 up later on in the match, sadly fluffing his lines. Like I said, Demirovic has really got to step up his game. I don't want to criticize him too much, because I already know that he's going through a lot, but, he really needs to step up his game for the national team, and I hope that he can finally break his goalless drought during the match against Switzerland or Qatar. Now, moving on to more great performances in the match. Speaking of a great performance, Sead Kolasinac with a great goal line clearance. He's waited 12 years to redeem himself after the fastest own goal at a World Cup in history was scored by him in Brazil against Argentina, which was Bosnia's opening match at the FIFA World Cup and their opening match in 2014. So, great performances from him, alongside Tadic Muharemovic and Nikola Katic as well. Nikola Katic, at one point, I believe, was rated the highest out of any player at the World Cup after his performance against Canada. Him and Tadic had a bunch of great clearances. The defense was very strong overall. Nikola Vasil with a few crucial saves as well. But despite Bosnia's defense holding its own for such a very long time, similar to the match in Austria, the lead wouldn't stay, sadly, as Kyle Lauren, who came on off the bench, scored the equalizer in the 78th minute for Canada, canceling out Jovo's earlier strike from the 21st minute. Like I said earlier, Bosnia had a chance to go 2-1 up as well, but sadly, Ermedin Demirovic couldn't put it into the back of the net as he tried to go past the keeper rather than chipping it or, taking a different approach. Like I said, I love Demirovic. I think he's a great player. He performs well for Stuttgart. He does add quality to the national team, but he's got to be better when it comes to scoring. I mean, in terms of the national team, he hasn't been able to score much for the national team. I believe he only has 4 goals in so many national team appearances. His last one coming in the Nations League against the Netherlands, which he actually scored 2 in the Nations League, both coming against the Netherlands. But yeah, like I was saying, it's one thing to criticize a player like I'm doing. I agree that it's fair to criticize him after his national team performances and that they haven't been up to par. But it's another thing to go out and attack him and attack his family, his kids. And I don't understand why some fans have done that. I found it a bit appalling, and I think it's just something that we should do without. So good luck to Medin moving forward, and hopefully he can grab himself a goal during this World Cup. Now, moving on. Overall, it wasn't a bad performance, but nothing too special in my opinion. I think our low block style has costed us one too many times, such as the game in Austria and this game now. And also, it prevents us from unlocking the fullest out of our wingers like Esmir, Kerim, and Amar Memic. I think they can't, perform as creatively as they would, because as you know, Esmir in the match seemed limited. He's a very creative player, but couldn't really add too much. I think the low block style doesn't really fit him. And I think even against Switzerland, potentially Amar Memic should be moved to the right and potentially Kerim Alibegovic on the left with Esmir coming on off the bench later on. One of the stories I heard during the match, that surprised me was that BIH Fanaticos were actually kicking fans out of their seats. This sucks to hear, obviously, after how special the atmosphere was leading up to the match, alongside the quartet to the stadium and the march to the stadium, as you should say. But, I'm a bit disappointed in hearing that they were moving fans out of their seats, and I understand that they all want to be together, but, I don't think that's the right way to approach it, is moving fans out of their seats. Now moving forward, Bosnia traveled from Canada to Salt Lake City, which is where their World Cup base will be hosted. And speaking of Salt Lake City, Real Salt Lake, which is where the Bosnian national team is training, is home to a MLS coach that is Bosnian. Mirza Harambasic, originally from Prijedor and a follower of Zmaj Media, is the goalkeeping coach at Real Salt Lake. So shout out to Mirza, a great guy. I've spoken to him a few times. I'm very happy to see that he got to meet some of the players and stuff. And I think he was one of the ones who helped organize the opening training session as the team got to Salt Lake City. So cool to see Mirza getting involved. And once again, shout out to him and a thank you to him for following the Zmaj Media page. Now, moving forward to Bosnia versus Switzerland. In my opinion, I believe that as long as our defense performs well and Nikola Vasil has a big match, that we can 100% beat the Swiss. One of the Swiss players was saying that they're 100% confident that they are beating Bosnia. I don't see that happening. My prediction for this match is that Bosnia will once again come back from behind and prevail victorious, like we saw versus Italy, like we saw versus Wales, and earlier on against Romania. My prediction is that Switzerland will take an early lead from Breel and Bolo, and then that Dzeko will show up at the World Cup and grab himself his first goal at the 2026 edition. Obviously, he grabbed a goal against Iran in 2014 as Bosnia won that match 3-1, courtesy of a goal from him, Milan Pjanic, and Avdija Vrsajevic. And then a late winner, in my opinion, will come from a header, probably through a set piece, because, we've been very quality at getting headers and scoring off set pieces, courtesy of Tarik Muharamovic. So all I'm going to say is, Hajmo Bosno, in the words of the great Bosnian poet, Frankie, Hajmo I Rusit. Now in other Bosnian soccer news, FK Sarajevo were hit with a transfer ban until 2028. But from my understanding, they have paid off their debts, and the ban has been reversed. And now, in more news and some Bosnian transfer news as well, both Ivan Basic and Benjamin Tahirovic are linked with a move to Scottish club Celtic. Obviously, Scottish champions, Celtic, historic Scottish club. In my opinion, I would love this move a lot more for Basic rather than Tahirovic to kind of get Basic playing at a higher level. He's currently in Kazakhstan with Astana. I would love this move for him because I feel like it would help him make a name for himself, and especially if he has a good World Cup, it could really improve his stock, and maybe even some bigger clubs come after him. Tahirovic is also linked to the fellow Glasgow club, which is Rangers, as well as Porto, where he would link up with his former Ajax head coach. So interesting to see where both players may end up this summer after the World Cup. Now, two more young potential Bosnian internationals grabbed themselves moves to the Bundesliga, and that includes 16-year-old defensive midfielder Samin Mujovic, grabbing himself a move from Malmo to Gladbach for 1 million euros, as well as 21-year-old center back San Dulic grabbing a move from 1816 Munich to Hoffenheim. So good luck to them, and excited to see what the future holds for both of them. Hopefully, if they turn out well, they end up choosing for Bosnia. I believe that Samin is currently a Sweden youth international. And then I'm not sure about Son, but I would love to see Son end up playing for us as well, as long as, his potential keeps rising and he performs well for Hoffenheim. And the same goes for, Mujovic at Gladbach. So, bit of a shorter episode today. A late episode as well. I'm filming this around, 9:51 local time in St. Louis. So that should about wrap things up this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Once again, I'm Dino. You can find me on X at Dino_zigzag and on this My Media socials on YouTube, X, Spotify, Instagram, and now TikTok. Like I was saying, once again, thank you guys so much for listening. I want to say the audio quality should start to improve in future episodes as I'm getting a new mic for the podcast and the new headphones and stuff like that. So, if there's anything you guys would like to see us cover more in our episodes, please let us know in the comments below, whether that's on Spotify or YouTube. And then also let us know what type of content you guys would like to see from us on TikTok, what type of short form content you guys would like to see, and if you guys would like to see more video essays and stuff like that on YouTube. So once again, thank you guys for listening. And once more, let's go USA and Haimo Bosnia. See you guys and have a good night.